The following is my summit talk for the Freedom from Workaholism Summit, hosted by Jan Murray, where I was a guest speaker. I gave myself time and space before the event to see what topics and messages wanted to come through, and I did receive some clairvoyant images and psychic impressions to share with the audience. I just wanted to come from a place of looking deeper into the spiritual reasons why someone might work so much or even just do so much, why someone might be so focused on the busyness of doing, which can be all of us. This is my perspective from my personal experience as a professional intuitive and energy healer, based on what I have come across over the last decade plus in my work and what the angels wanted to share. There is always more that can be said and deeper we can go, but I hope this gives you some food for thought, that you find resonance also on some level, and that it inspires you to make changes, to move from the auto modus operandus of doing and into the more fluid, natural state of intuitive being. And I go into what are some solutions so that we can move more into a state of peace, serenity, and calm, and give space to ourselves and our day. Let's go ahead and listen.
Hello, and welcome to our summit, Freedom from Workaholism, from a working holic to living a reclaimed life of peace. And I love to add ease and serenity. Every time I say that, it just gives me goosebumps, and my whole body just reacts to when I say that, because I am living a reclaimed life of peace, ease, and serenity, which brought me to want to do this summit. And we can replace the word workaholism with any word, actually. That's what I love about, just looking at the last part of that, the ism. And it doesn't matter, we can fill in the blank, but we're all here to be fed with so much information on this summit. And I'm super excited. First of all, my name is Jan. Welcome, welcome. And I'm beyond excited and honored. And it's such a privilege to have Natalia in with us on this summit today. I can't even describe the first time that we spoke, probably over a month ago or more, and we had this instant connection. And to me, that's what this has been, this connection of this inner peace that we find within each other. And it's so contagious. And I hope that the audience also feels that today. So before we begin our conversation, I want to give Natalie the privilege and the honor to tell us about herself and what she does to help others. So I want to keep calling you Natalie, and I'm sorry.
Natalia.
Natalia.
That's okay.
I know that. Okay, go ahead.
It's all good. So hi everyone. My name is Natalia, and I am an intuitive and an energy healer, spiritual coach, and I also host a podcast called Spiritual Soul. And my sort of mainstream job is teaching English, so I still do that part-time as well. And the teacher part of it also comes into my spiritual work, because I really am here to be a spiritual teacher and guide, and so with drawing in all my experience being a teacher, as well as all the spiritual knowledge that I've sort of grown into over the years, just by doing the work, I've learned so much about people and life. It is just astounding. So one of my massive passions, and in fact, sort of the biggest project that I work on all the time, is I founded an online school for spiritual development called Spiritual Course Academy. And it's my greatest passion. It's like what I came here to do. So slowly over time, I'm building that up and creating courses to help people understand themselves sort of on a self-development level, and also just grow in their spiritual understandings, and just being able to cope in this world, because so many people don't realize that everything at the end of the day is about energy. And so that's really what I'm able to tune into and feel from person to person, just being highly empathic and sensitive. And it just explains absolutely everything, as well as why you might be a workaholic or, like spend so much time on work projects.
That's a lot. And I have to share with our audience before we press the record button. Natalia had asked me if she could just share what she was experiencing around our connection, mainly about myself. And it was so spot on. And I'm not going to go into detail about it, but it's such a gift to be able to have someone like her to be able to help others. And it's that you can see the love and the compassion and the energy. It's just, I can't even find the right words to really do justice to the experience that I had in just a few minutes. So thank you again for that. So what I wanted to do was, first of all, I read something. You have to visit our website. There's so much information. But one thing that I want to start just by saying this, and then I'm going to go into my questions, is you have on your website, allow me to be present and hold a space for you so you can awaken, rise, and spiritually evolve. And that's what, when I decided to put the summit together, the words awaken, rise, and spiritually evolve. Spiritually, that word means so much to me. I have a power greater than myself that I call God. And I truly believe in the spiritual realm of everything. And there's no coincidences in life. And I was attracted to Natalia and wanted to bring her onto the summit for if just that alone. And I did ask a lot of my speakers to give me any questions they want to talk about. So the first question I have is, in your spiritual experience as an intuitive and energy healer, what might be a deeper reason why some people have workaholic tendencies?
And firstly, I just want to say, as you were speaking just before, I felt the energy of everything as you were speaking. The words, it really has so much truth in it, and just what you bring to the table as well. Like your heart in it was sort of merged into the words. So thank you for that. And I also love how earlier on you mentioned how it's not just about workaholism. So many people watching this coming from all sorts of directions can relate on different levels. And it's one of the things that I actually wanted to say as well. So I was so like rapt when you said that, which is that there are other aspects too. There's a lot of people who just put so much time and energy into work. And then there's even people who might just be like, don't say just, sorry, who are wonderfully stay-at-home mums, as I was when my children were younger and still am as with older children, that so much time and emphasis is placed on these things, whatever it is. And so one of the things that I actually forgot to mention earlier about the work that I do is I'm very connected to angels. Angels has been my big thing. And so with this talk, knowing that it was coming, I allowed time and space for information to come through so that there's something deeper that comes through rather than just words. And I get images and things like that. So the angels gave me an image just about half an hour ago of this circle. And the idea is that when you are, let's just call it being a workaholic or overworking, ignoring everything else, just everything is just about work, 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 or all the things you have to do, right? It's like you're in this circle, you're in this bubble. And the bubble is so limited because you're just in this bubble and you can't see the wood for the trees outside of it. And the angels showed that there's all this space around that bubble. And that is what I really like to connect to on an energetic level, and what I really feel now that I'm sort of in that space myself. And you might also be able to sense that on me. And it's that empty space where you want to be. So it's kind of, so today, I guess I'm going to poke a little needle into the bubble. That's what the angels are showing me now. So poke a needle in the bubble. allow that, and you might go, oh no, what's gonna like come up? That's my bubble, it's my security blanket, right? And it's like, it's okay, you're in a safe space. This is your time as you listen to this to, and I do say this to my clients, to be you, to really go in there. And so that's really what I want to do today. So deeper reasons for being a workaholic. So a few days ago, the angels also gave me another picture, and that was a person with really massive headphones on, the kind that block everything out. And the notion in this is that you're trying to exactly do that, is block everything out. So let's say you're in your workaholic mode, or everything is in your bubble of do, do, do. And when you've got these massive headphones on, it's just really a symbol of muting yourself, not wanting to know, feel, see all the stuff inside. That's going to be a bit of a repeated theme for today, because this is the really important thing that wants to come through. And so by not wanting to look at all your stuff, all these avoidance tactics come up, right? And we'll go into that as well. And what happens is you end up being in this kind of repeating loop, and the angels give a picture. So often I receive, so when I'm doing an intuitive session, I receive pictures, and that's clairvoyance. And the picture is of a merry-go-round as well as a roundabout. And so what happens is you're in your little bubble, and you're just going around like the Truman Show, around and around and around the bubble. And it's like a loop. And that loop can include all your repeated thoughts that come up, patterns of overworking, all that kind of thing, those kind of limited beliefs and patterns. And it's like you're saying to yourself, if I keep busy, I don't have to look within. That is like one of the really, I would say that's the major theme for today. So they also bring up the analogy of, so we have the headphones, very similar analogies. They brought up three others. One is having a blanket over your head because you don't want to see. It's also covering things under a blanket. So you've got all the dust under the blanket. So as long as I keep working, as long as I keep doing, I don't have to see the stuff. And then it's also burying your head in the sand, not wanting to see, and putting up a shield, defenses against confronting your deeper personal issues. So they are really the more personal things. And there's also a couple of other categories in this. So one is your childhood and upbringing, and then we're going to move into the spiritual and energetic reasons. But everything is actually connected, because at the end of the day, like I said earlier, everything is spiritual, everything is energy, including everything, in your relationships, just everything. So in terms of your childhood and upbringing, we all know that we can be affected by our parents when we're older. And, one thing I've learned is I've had clients that are even, 70, 80 years old, and they still have parent issues. It's like everybody has parent issues. And it's so huge. The impact is actually massive. It's so big. And if it's not per parents, then it's, other people in your life, your upbringing in general, school, and also the other one would be culture and society and all that stuff. So yeah, I still can't believe the whole 80-year-old thing just always gets me, because I've also been going through all of that myself. So I'm really very connected to it. And I find that it comes up with so many, if not all of my clients. So in terms of the topic that we're speaking of today, with putting so much focus into work and sort of burying your head in the sand with all the stuff you have to do, sometimes that comes from, I've had clients where their parents, when they were younger, had such high expectations for them, and it was all about status, getting great grades, that kind of thing. Everything was conditional. So I will only give you love if you get an A plus, that kind of thing. And of course, so for example, if someone comes up in a session, it's not that they're talking about this, that's the connection that I will draw through, because I like to say I like to go deep to the root of things, which is what we're doing as well today. It's not surface level. Let's move away all the surface level stuff and really get down to the nitty gritty, what's really going on here. And it never ceases to amaze me how something from now, you might be however old you are, like I've just turned 50 a few months ago. So let's say you're 50 and you're going through a situation like, let's see, something's coming up in work, you're just putting so much attention into your work. I've actually had a couple of clients where this has been a case a few months ago, and just all the work stuff is just up here in the head so much. It's just almost like they're so stressed and there's no room for anything else. And so I'm like, okay, let's just break away all those layers. Okay, when you were 5. So when you were 5, your mum, and it's also a cultural thing from their particular cultural background, your mum, locked you in the cupboard and told you off because you didn't do your homework, because you didn't get an A. And it's like, oh yeah. And then that's how it goes from there. So it's everything connects to something else. Like, it's just amazing how you can sort of draw the dots together. So I did mention culture and society has been an aspect as well. So, there is a thing, like we all know, there's the glorification of money and success. And when I say success, that brings up a lot of things too, because some people feel like they're never just good enough. No matter what they do, they cannot achieve to this high standard. So they're always scraping, trying to achieve that or receive the validation from it. And I just want to mention just the third one, which is the spiritual and energy perspective. So, everything is energy that I mentioned, and we do have this energy system. And it's like just when you feel a vibe, right? So we also have what's termed chakras, which are just energy centers in our body. And there's one, our lower one out of the main ones, which is called the root chakra. And that is about survival, and parent stuff can be in there as well. It's about security, stability. So if you're trying to build up this empire in your work, or just your nose to the grindstone in your work all the time, there might be some root issues from the root chakra area connected to you're in survival mode. You have to, and of course we all have to provide and all those things, but we're talking here about when people are in the excess of that. You might have scarcity fears, which could stem from, if not your lifetime now, a past lifetime. Let's say in another lifetime, you experienced poverty and you vowed you will never be in this situation again. And so this is a carry through. We have these, it's like an energy that runs through your DNA, and you have all this or unresolved karma. And so it plays itself out. And so now you're still carrying these threads from a past life and feeling like your root is compromised and you need to keep working to survive. And that can play out in other ways as well. So that's the lower chakra. And then there's the other one that came through for me that I thought was connected is the crown, which is at the top of your head. And this is the mind area as well, or above the mind. And for me, it really connects in the way of, we have, if you like to call it, a lower mind and a higher mind. And so your lower mind is like the ego and your everyday thinking. And for people who are very much in the work mode, they're so cerebral and in that lower mind. And this is not to say that it needs to be lower as in lower level, but just that's the normal mind, right, where we think. And you can just be so bombed by thoughts all the time that you can't, there's no space for anything else. It's all kind of jammed up. So one of the messages that will be coming through today as we move through things is that we're here for to bring the higher mind into things. And that's that open space, because we can be so bogged down by the lower mind.
Wow. I'm so grateful this is being recorded, because there's so much information. I know people are probably taking notes, and I almost feel like you were telling my story, and I'm assuming other people are shaking their heads like, yes, and I had some trauma when I was a little girl. I was molested when I was between 5 and 7, and I didn't know how to say no. And along with that, I always knew growing up that I knew we had enough money, but I don't think we lived a very frugal life. And so I remember taking money out under my mom's mattress. She kept money there, like a $20 bill. And I thought, oh, good, I've got money, and I've had experiences around financial insecurity later on in my adult life. And so when you're talking and sharing about this, and this is what I love about these experts that are here with us today, audience, that we can resonate with, or they're touching something within us. Because, and correct me if I'm wrong, that then there's this hope that we don't have to live like that, right? We don't have to live like that. Don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the times that we're in because so much light is coming in now. And some of you, you'll be feeling it. We're in this period of, you mentioned loving the word awakening, and we're in this time of great awakening where all this light is coming in and revealing, because light reveals the truth, a lot of darkness in the world. And I must say, yeah, I'm really sorry that you went through that sexual abuse and that it's actually quite prevalent, and I'm very passionate actually about that topic. I have a percentage of clients who have experienced that, and it plays out in a plethora of ways when you're as you progress through life. And so I can definitely see how that connects to things, and then the topic of today, because we all have some kind of trauma, and that is the big one, and we can have trauma of all kinds and sizes. And it's really important to go there and address things and just see how things connect, and how, like, why am I, and we will actually move into this, like, why am I doing this? Where does it stem from?
Mm. It's so true. And for me, it was, seeking that validation because I didn't feel good enough. And then, I didn't know what to turn to, when that stopped working, because I stayed at work late, and fill in the blank. And I had a conversation recently with a family member that said, I don't think I'm a workaholic. I had to work and I worked hard, but it's trying to and I'm not trying to force someone to agree with me or to understand what I'm trying to say, but that's what I thought for years. No, I'm just a hard worker. But I was going to work for another reason, and that was to get validation and to prove my worth, like, see me. And then when that stopped, I turned to alcohol and food to fill the void. And then when that stopped, then I found the courage to ask for help. But I so appreciate this conversation because it's so vital, right, to our existence. Don't you
Yeah.
agree?
Oh, this is what it's all about. When I mentioned earlier, energy is everything and it runs through everything, like relationships and so on. This is it. This is exactly it. And this is what I have found and grown into in my work, which is that just everything about your everyday life and just every single thing, including your work, there's energy running through it. There are lessons. There are so many things. It's just all about energy. Why are we here? It's all about energy and spirituality at the end of the day. And the more that you grow into that and be brave enough, like you were, which is amazing, to have that courage to take the steps to look into yourself. And that would have been a layer of steps, one group of steps, and then you're like, okay, I'm at this plateau, and then you go down a bit, and then this is what it's like, right? And then you get scared again and you put the blankets over again, and then it's like, okay, I can come out again. And then a next set of steps appears, which is a message actually that the angels will often show me. We're always provided with a stepping stone. So they gave this image many years ago, and it's so applicable, where it's like a lake with a little stepping stone and all this light is on it, and you take the step onto there, but then there's the water and the unknown again.
Mm.
And then at the right time, the next step appears. It's not all given at once. And the unknown is an area that freaks a lot of people out, as you probably know.
Yes, and but there's that hope. There's the hope that I, and it's a journey. That's what I meant to say. It's a journey that we're on, right? And the hope that I could take that next step when it's there, right? And not force it. Because I was always trying to force things. And I love the visual of, the bubble. And and the blanket, because then I would, let me grab the blanket, let me stand under that for a while until I saw or I felt something, to move me. Um, which brings me to the next question. Why do many people struggle to sit quietly and be present with themselves?
Yeah, I find like I have seen this so much, and really it's quite simple. It's
Mm,
quiet amplifies,
mm,
and it can be deafening for people. You might feel the energy of it now who have this stuff inside them. They're in their bubble of avoidance and they don't want to see or know the stuff, because as soon as you sit still, your stuff rises up.
mm,
And this is why people will feel like they can't sit still. Their whole body reacts. They might feel like they're getting hives, get itchy, feel restlessness. That like they might play around with their keys or something, that they can't handle it. Um, and also, when you're in the stillness, it's so confrontational. And then other issues might come up. We talked about before, like things from childhood and so on. So you might feel lazy or unproductive because maybe your dad told you, don't be lazy. You can't sit. There's always something to do in the house, right? So guilt could come up as well. But basically, it is hard for some people to get real and into the truth of who they are and what it is within them. And I'm the one being anyone doing this work or very empathic that feels people's energy. Like, maybe you feel, and I'm sure you do too, you feel people's emotions and moods and things like that. So I feel that sort of in an amplified way. And so when we talked about the bubble before, being in the bubble, I feel that bubble. It's thick, it's dense, it's like being in a grey cloud.
mm,
And so when you understand about energy and let's say we clear that energy and we burst that little bubble gently, where it's safe for you to be vulnerable, it opens up a space, and then healing can come through and the transformation and the change. And it can take time and take steps, but really people just feel uncomfortable with that. And so it's having the bravery to make a start and go, okay, I'm gonna sit still, because and to break through those tendencies to avoid and to do any kind of decoy, right? And also just being so much in the mind, because they might sit still and all these thoughts come up, and it can go crazy in there. And so really the message in all of this is to allow yourself the dignity and grace to go within yourself, and that that there are things that you might be avoiding, and that it's okay and safe to go there. In fact, that's what we're to do, because if we don't go there, everything will keep repeating. I mentioned that roundabout. That's why that image came, is because you'll just go around the same loop, the same roundabout, holding all your stuff in. And we're not meant to hold our stuff in. The angels are showing me now a picture of a train, or you're at the airport, and you know how there's those little vehicles that carry the luggage, but it's like a train with carriages, and that's all your stuff, all your baggage.
mm,
And that's you. You're going around. In fact, this a similar image came up for a client, and actually a client that I talked about earlier about being a workaholic, um, carrying around all this stuff. And it's okay. Do I really want to keep carrying all this stuff? Let's cut the cord. Let's deal with it. So it's not about avoiding. It's not about, okay, let's pretend it doesn't exist. Let's just get rid of it. And that's putting the blanket over the dust pile. It's okay, I'm going to lift up the blanket. Then it's like I really feel someone going, oh God, I can't go in there. It's all too much, right? And then dusting that blanket, putting it in the air to clear, letting the sun shine on it, and going, okay, I have this dust, it's okay. And that's where the inner child might come up, and you might feel like, oh no, like alert, alert, all the alarm bells go on. My inner child is very sensitive and doesn't want to go there and wants to hide. And that's where the other tendencies might come up. The drinking, right? Um, Eating, things you mentioned before, all those kinds of things, whatever, avoiding this or that. Just, I'm going to bury my head in work even more. What are some more projects I can take on? And you know what? Let's have me take on everything that everyone asks me to do. I'll be the one that does everything, because then I'm filling myself up so high, whether it's with tasks, to-do lists, food, anything that you're avoiding. And then you're filling yourself up so much, there's no space for me to look at the stuff. And so let's remove all of that and go, it's actually safe for me to go within, and I will take time to go within and examine it, and then whatever comes up. And for some, it just might be one or two things, and there can be small things. And for others, it's a lot, because you're not just dealing with your current stuff, maybe your relationship or something with, with a trauma from when you were younger, or it can be, and it can be really massive stuff, such as, well, you mentioned a trauma, which is a big one, and it's being brave to go there, but knowing that everything connects. Everything connects. Until you deal with it, you're going to keep carrying that whole little train of luggage with you.
That's so true. You said two words that resonated with me. One in particular was the word safe. Whenever I'm working with someone, and I work with people in recovery, and whenever I meet with them, I say a prayer and we meditate, and I always let them know that this is a very safe and protected space. And as you're saying that, I'm asking myself, why is that so important to me? Because to this day, I feel very safe in this environment right now. It's very safe. And maybe it's just over time, it's become somewhat important to me. And I know that's come up with a lot of other people that I work with, that they talk about that, I can't even feel safe in that situation, or I don't feel safe, and therefore I can't even be vulnerable. Can you talk about that a little bit more?
Yeah, well, safety is the root chakra. So I'm not safe because when I was a child, I was neglected. When I was a child, I was, touched, whatever it is. When I was a child, I was scolded. So it's not safe for me to be vulnerable. It's not safe for me to speak up. When I spoke up, I was hit. When I raised my voice, everyone laughed at me. It's not safe. And so everything you experience in your life, let's say you have a boss with unrealistic expectations, and you're like, well, I can't speak, I can't, I'm stuck. And so then I feel like you will get stuck in the throat. You might get a sore throat. Like all these things will happen. It will start to manifest physically. You'll end up sick. You'll end up, if you keep ignoring your problems even longer, or you feel so unsafe that you can't breathe, and then you could end up with, an illness that is larger, and it can manifest even further and deeper. I love the way you said that, with clients, you say you're safe and protected, because I do the same thing. I say you're in a safe and sacred space. This is your place to be you. And that's what I want here for anyone listening, to feel that. And I think they will through, and you have that warmth and welcoming nature, which makes it a safe place. Because this world is cruel, this world is harsh, and it's not a safe place, and it's for a lot of people, and you can see all the negative things everywhere. So we all do want to put blanket over ourselves, because the world is kind of going crazy as well, on top of everything. And so if you're feeling unsafe, look at that, because there's been a lot of things in the, we all went through the COVID experience and blah, blah, blah. And it did make a lot of people feel unsafe. And so what happens is we all have our own energy, but there's also the collective energy. So there's a collective energy of everyone's thoughts and feelings, and energy of feeling unsafe and the unknown being amplified. And then on a group level over the whole world, there's this vulnerability and you can feel it in the air. And hence, so many people now have more anxiety, which also is another issue that connects with what we're talking about today: stress, anxiety, overwhelm, fear of the unknown. I'm just going to keep working because I don't know what's going down with the world. So let me just keep dotting my I's. And, it's, there's so much going on, and just never underestimate the power of energy, both for the good and the dark side of it, because both exist simultaneously. And that's what we're feeling and taking onto ourselves. And so, whatever darkness you've experienced on a very light level or in a big way when you were younger or throughout your lifetime, it all connects to the now present moment. And so, when you speak about being not feeling safe, then it's time to look into that and feel and ask yourself the questions why. Take your time, be kind and gentle on yourself. Push away all the excesses, extra work. Don't take it on, because what we've, and I think that you'll resonate with this, is that feeling of being a people pleaser, and something you mentioned earlier that connects with that, not having boundaries. No one kept me safe when I was younger. No one protected me from that thing that happened. So my boundaries are weak. I'm very vulnerable. I don't have a support system in place. Again, that all comes down to the root chakra. It's like everything is crumbling. The world is crumbling. When we think about stability, it's 4 legs of a table or chair. And it's like someone just came through and like the bully who knocks down the sandcastle and knocked down all the legs. And it's like, oh, I was like, it's very vulnerable, right? You just want to hide again. And that's what's happening in the world. But it's all for a reason. It's for us to rise up and go, you know what? These old legs, they were lies, illusions. They were painful. I didn't want to look at them. So what happens is, if you don't look at it, then everything will become dismantled. Like the tower goes down and all the pieces are crumbled everywhere, scattered everywhere, because you didn't want to look at it. So the universe will come and show you and put it right in your face and go, here's that piece. And you're like, oh, darn it, I got to look at it now. Right. And so then when you look at it, then you're like, okay, good, I see it now. Okay. And then shifts happen. Everything starts to change, move, take place. Sometimes it's quick. Other times it can take weeks, months, years. It's all good. Honor that. But the real message in all of this is, let's pick up the sticks once you've done your healing, and let's see what we can now build. Who is the new me, the recovered me? You mentioned you speak of, you work with recovery. It's such a beautiful word. And it's actually so funny now, actually, when I think about it. I looked at my whiteboard before, and I've been doing some self-work for the last few months. And one of the word was recovery. And I thought, oh, I've done that now. I've actually just completed my version of recovery, of healing and things. And so that's what it's about. It's recovering, just like there's a recovery after a storm, and everyone comes together. But you cannot always rely on the group, because we're each to rely on ourselves and self-reliance. And for some people, that is another issue, because it comes into this whole topic as well, because I couldn't rely on anyone. I could only rely on myself. So I'm the one who did it for me. And so I keep doing it because I'm this Joan of Arc that never stops. And it's like, okay, let's now pause, freeze, drop it, and see what comes up, so that you can recover your legs and become the new chair, the new table. And that's the one that a lot of people are going to want to sit at.
Wow. The words that you're using are words that I'm very familiar with, especially in the recovery world. We always say pause when agitated and doubtful, turn, usually within, to seek that divine, the spiritual being, whatever it is that is your own conception of this higher power. And then, and then we can become awakened, to this new way of thinking and living as a result of the work that we've done. And we discover and uncover things. And so it's such a beautiful transformation of how we can live this reclaimed life of peace, ease, and serenity. But we also need so much are people like you to help guide us, right? I mean, I'm so what's the word? I'm so attracted to what you're saying. It's like I want more and more because of this hope that we don't have to live like that. And it seems simple, and even though I can complicate it, but it is, with people like you, Natalia, that can guide us in this safe place, which is again such a beautiful, beautiful place. Which brings me to the next question. What are some practical spiritual solutions to create more space into one's day and feel more calm, clear, and connected? Boy, this is flowing so beautiful.
Oh gosh, just feeling the energy of the whole thing it is wonderful. It's a journey on its own. Today is a journey on its own, and hopefully that journey through its threads of energy will reach into the hearts of each person listening to, and that's really what it comes down to, is being in the heart, coming from the heart, going back to the heart, because our mind, we've been so much in the mind. So if you're placing so much emphasis on all the work things and so on, you're in the mind, and really all the truth, everything is in the heart. And this is where we come into with solutions. Really, I have said everything is spiritual and energy at the end of the day, and really it's just about the great, I mentioned the great awakening. It's also the great surrendering. This is the message of today: surrender into everything. And it's also the great unraveling. And so as I say that, there was another image that the angels gave me a few days ago for today. And that was a ball of wool or string all bound up, all tight. And so imagine that's you. You're this ball of string, and everything's so in there. It's like being in the circle, that image that we talked about prior. And everything is in there. You're in the shadows, you're in the darkness of your stuff. It's all tight. You're contracted, you're constricted. And when you feel like that, because also when you're working a lot, you kind of do feel, you feel that tension. And the message of today is, let's unravel that. And so this is about bringing in the light, bringing in the awareness, opening up your spiritual self, reconnecting to who you are on a higher, deeper level, beyond work, beyond anything that is connected to the earthly realm, which is by no mistake, it's like they talk about base reality being lower. That's the root. It's the lower, which is why it's the bottom chakra. It's not to say it's less than, it's just as important as your higher self and your higher chakra. It all works in unison. So it's about balance, because so many people are unbalanced when they are putting work in their pie chart. It takes up, like 95%, and then you've got this little sliver left for you or, anything else. And it's like, no, let's just move that and create a space. So I want to say there were a lot of S words that came up with this, which is, surrender, but also space, creating a space. Now that's the outer circle that I spoke of earlier, slowing down the pace, because when you are working too much, doing too much, you're fast paced. You are autopilot, robotic, and not present. And so opening up a space that's putting the energy into things, giving yourself more time, slowing things down, and silence and stillness. We talked about the stillness. So let's move into this. So on a daily level, whether you work at home like me, being an entrepreneur, working from home, or which I love so much, or you're in an office environment, whatever it is for you, take the time for yourself as much as you can. Take intermittent breaks. I have found that I used to be head and nose right into my laptop. As soon as I wake up, I'm like, okay, got all this stuff to do. And I'm an Aries too. I'm like, go, go, go. And so, not that I'm highly energetic. I might come across sometimes today, but I also need a lot of time and space to slow down. So I'll turn on my laptop and go, okay, what are all the things I have to do? Let's go. But what that is I'm nose grinding, right? And I'm being tunnel visioned. I'm not looking at the outer sphere. Everything is just about this, the target, not the wider outer perspective. And the outer, wider perspective, that's that space that you want to be in. Everything is just so much better. When you slow down, it might be really hard to believe as a doer, or the doers out there listening to this right now. But actually, the truth is, and I've experienced it time and time again, and I know this on an energetic level and through my work, not just through my own personal experience, it actually expands time. So take a moment to let that dig in, because there's an energy in that, there's a vibration in that. It provides you with a fresh energy space with clarity, and you can actually get things done more efficiently and in a more focused way, and not that kind of like carrying all my stuff with me, grumpy, gotta do it focus. We're moving away from that. Let's clear everything up, give yourself time, go for walks, take breaks throughout the day, even if it's just let's work for an hour and then get up and have a coffee, go outside a little bit, take a little break, and then come back. You're shifting your focus and refocusing. And so you'll find if you give yourself space, this is where it's so valuable. Even if it's just, and just tell yourself, if you're just one of those people where I've got no time, I don't even have 1 second, right, let's break through all of that. Okay, let's just allow that all to dissipate and go, okay, I'm going to give myself 5 minutes. So I like to focus on 5 minutes, and that can expand to 7 minutes, 10 minutes, 15. Before you know it, it might be more than that. But let's just say 5 minutes. And especially first thing in the morning, you know, when you can, when it's right for you though, give yourself space to just sit. And we talked about this, allow those thoughts to come up and all the crazy stuff from inside to come up, and just go, no, I'm going to sit through this. And if you are that if you are that sort of bound by the clock, then set your timer for 5 minutes. If you're thinking, well, when's this going to end? Jesus Christ, 5 minutes. I mean, right? So just go, no, put all that aside and go, okay, I'm going to give myself 5 minutes and persevere through it. And it will get easier over time. And then just breathe mindfully, sit still, and you will actually find that you will start to really enjoy the silence and the space, allowing yourself to just come into yourself, connect with yourself, and you will start to feel a sense of energy around you and around things. And this might take longer time for some, and it might come quicker for others. But just, you know, keep doing this for yourself. It's a gift to yourself, even if it's just on a very simplistic level. And you did mention simplicity, but that's what it's all about. It's complication and chaos is what you might be attracted to as a workaholic. However, it's actually the simplicity that is the key to everything. And that is true whatever your personal faith is, whatever you feel like God or source energy is, you know, the creator of all, and whatever spiritual belief system that you have. At the end of the day, simplicity is purity and it is truth, just like the light coming in, allowing us to unravel. I mentioned that ball of wool. Well, it's wanting us to unravel. So instead of sitting tight and opening up my laptop, it's like, okay, let's give myself time. And I found even yesterday, I wanted to go, oh, I've got this thing on today. I want to think about the topic. Let's open up my laptop. No, I've got to do my 5-minute thing. So I made myself, and as I did so, my ball of wool unravels because I'm untightening myself, I guess, and allowing that sort of the light to come in and to go, and you just feel so much better. And so today you might sense on me the way I'm speaking, the energy, the serenity, the flow that you mentioned, that's all coming from being in that space and having that space amplified, being an energy healer. So I could maybe go a little bit next level with it. But you can see and perceive that difference. And if maybe we'd had this talk a week ago when I was more in that zone, it might be a different case altogether. And so we want to be moving from this into this and opening it all up.
Oh my goodness. I know that we could talk for hours, and oh my goodness, this has been such an amazing interview, and we will have to close the interview now. And I know that our audience truly appreciates all of this that was shared. You're such a gift. And before we do sign off, is there something that you want to tell the audience that you're going to provide as a gift to them?
Yeah, speaking of gifts. So, yeah, absolutely. And it is about what I just mentioned, which is, making space for yourself. So, just for this, I actually went and created a whole mini course. It took a little bit longer than I initially thought. It was just going to be a meditation. It turned out to be a course. And so I'd like to offer this to everybody. And really, it's keeping things really simple. It's 5 minutes to calm, clear, and connected. So giving yourself that 5 minutes, and I guide you through the steps myself with a guided meditation to sit in the stillness. And we go through from just breathing to clearing your mind, clearing your energy, and then coming into yourself, connecting with yourself and your spiritual self, all in 5 minutes. So I think that you will find that really rewarding and helpful, because if you can't do it yourself, it's really helpful to have someone guide you through the process. And then before the meditation in the course, there's some videos, so video lessons going through all the topics. And what else can I say about this? It just helps you to connect with yourself and create a foundation of peace and mindfulness that you can apply to your everyday life, as well as move you into breathing that space into your day. And you will find, like I said, everything just opens up and changes, and you will find that so many shifts will take place within yourself, and that you will start to change your outlook, how you look at things. And you'll be quite amazed at what it does to your mood and your day, and how that vibe that you carry can then spread to others as well.
Thank you so much, Natalia. And I know that our audience thanks you too. It was such a pleasure and an honor to have you here today.
Thank you so much. If you would like to check out the mini course 5 minutes to calm, clear, and connected, please check out the link in the description below, or visit www.spiritualcourseacademy.com/courses/5 minutes. This is a really great way to implement some peace and calm into your day, and you just easily follow along in the steps. You don't have to think about it, so that you can feel more clear and connected to your inner self, your spiritual self, and it does make a difference to your day. So I welcome you to check it out.